We're here at White Sands National Park. It's our first time here and it's just incredible. So this is going to be it for our New Mexico trip. We only had 2 stops. If this is the way the West is going to be, we're super excited to see the rest of it. Having traveled through Texas and now New Mexico, we hadn't visited any old mining towns or ghost towns, but we had just arrived in Arizona and we were close to one of the most famous Western towns in America. So we got off I-10 to visit Tombstone, Arizona. Tombstone came to be from one man's mission to find silver. Ed Shefflin would go out on excursions from Camp Huachuca into the wilderness. Each time he would return, the soldiers would ask if he found anything. Ed would admit he had not, but he would someday soon. The soldiers would scoff and reply, "The only thing you'll find in these hills is your tombstone." And when Ed did finally find silver, he named the mines Tombstone. Once word got out that there was silver in the area, this tent community of miners grew into a metropolis almost overnight. In late 1879, their 2 best mines were projecting dividends of $50,000 per month for the next 2 years. A group of rustlers who would round up and steal cattle from Mexico, known as the cowboys, would provide beef to the town at less than market rates. Eventually, these cowboys would demand the supply of bullion. After months of lawlessness, friction between Wyatt Earp, his brothers Virgil and Morgan, and their friend Doc Holliday, and the cowboys came to a head. On a cold, snowy, and windy October 26, 1881, the most famous gunfight in the American West took place between them. Hostilities would continue for 6 more months until Earp left in April 1882. Wyatt lived in Tombstone for 28 months. Despite being the location for American West's most famous gunfight, Tombstone was never the wild shoot-'em-up place it has been made out to be. It was very modern, sophisticated, and extremely wealthy. Telephones were installed by 1882. By 1883, the city had 2 gas companies, 3 water companies, 2 ice companies, 5 ice cream parlors, fresh seafood delivered daily from Baja, Mexico. They had a track for horse racing, and on the infield of the racetrack was a baseball diamond. Tombstone had a baseball team from 1882 to 1929. The first swimming pool in Arizona Territory was built here. The mining camp became a metropolis that rivaled San Francisco. So this is a private residence, but it's called the Rose Cottage in Victorian Gardens. Has a little bit of history here, but there's so many roses. You can smell the scent coming from this garden. So beautiful. Tombstone would experience 2 major fires in the downtown business district in 1881 and another in 1882. It would rebuild in 6 months after each. Tombstone's prosperity would fluctuate with the national economy and the price of silver. The mines closed in 1923. Following World War II, Tombstone became a sleepy little town in the high Sonoran Desert of Arizona. But Tombstone has never been a ghost town. Books, comics, movies, and television brought Tombstone back into the public consciousness in the 1950s and 1960s. These portrayals would reach their pinnacle in 1993 and 1994. The movies Tombstone and Wyatt Earp made the city a celebrity once more. Thousands of visitors came to Tombstone because of these films. They are great entertainment, but extremely loose interpretations of actual history. So yes, Tombstone is known for being an old mining town and iconic among the American Western enthusiasts, but there's one other reason why Tombstone is in the limelight among gardeners, and that is, it is home to the world's largest rose bush. If you know anything about me, it's that I love plants, gardening, and visiting gardens, so I had to see this beast of a rose. You cannot see it from the street. It is located in the courtyard of a hotel museum, so there is a $5 admission. It only blooms 1 month out of the year, and we happened to be there at that time. The museum is pretty good too. Overall, the $5 admission to see the rose and museum is worth it. One of those fires of 1882 destroyed the dwellings here. In 1885, Mrs. Amelia Adamson built the Cochise House Hotel. That same year, a cutting of a White Lady Banksia rose was sent to Mrs. Adamson from a relative in Scotland. She planted it in the hotel patio. In the 1920s, new owners James and Ethel Messia built a steel pipe and wood post trellis that supports the rose tree. In 1934, Robert Ripley declares the rose bush the world's largest in the newspaper column Believe It or Not, when it was 1/4 its present size. It now covers more than 8,000 square feet. It blooms in April. It does not require feeding or spraying, but it does require pruning and watering. Several truckloads of brush are pruned from the rose each January. So we are at the Rose Tree Museum in Tombstone, Arizona. This is the world's largest rose. And when you first come into the door and see it, it's just amazing how huge this thing is. We are here at the end of April, so the blooms are they're still there, but a lot of them have already dropped. You can see all the petals all over the floor. This is the Lady Banks rose, planted here in the late 1800s. Just a cutting of this rose was brought here from Scotland and given to the owner of this house, and she planted it, and it's been growing ever since. You can definitely smell it. If we came here at the beginning of April, it would probably be in complete full bloom, more scent, but we're still happy to catch the tail end of the bloom. So it's $5 admission, and there's a whole museum inside the house that has a lot of cool things in it too, so it's definitely worth the $5. You see this beautiful, huge rose tree and so many cool antiques and artifacts in the museum from this town and the surrounding area.
Thinking about this all day long. Never felt those blue eyes choking me. My society's wrong all day. We've been so busy waiting, it's time we go back to the basics of
After Tombstone, we drove 30 minutes south to Bisbee, Arizona. And this town is probably the prettiest in Arizona. It has some European vibes to it, but also distinctly American. We didn't have anything planned, just walk around for a bit and take in the sights. We did stop by an antique shop. Look at this beautiful view. And check out this fig tree. So many figs. They're just kind of growing on this cliffside. We just kept kind of climbing stairs and turned into like a dirt path. Then we came up here and it's kind of sketchy. So we're gonna go back down. But look at that view. Nick saw down to Mob, gave him a sticker. Now we're in Lowell on Erie Street. Let's go walk around and look at it. A little south of Bisbee is Lowell, Arizona. There is one entire street here, aptly named Erie Street, that looks like the people of the town got up and left, leaving everything behind. Everything is as it was in the 1950s.
These tires are brand new.
Oh.
So I think they keep maintained or something.
It's really cool how they have all these old cars here. It looks like it was just left, except that. This is Erie Street in Lowell, right by Bisbee.
In 9.9 miles, turn left onto East Highway 90.
And that was our last stop of the day, and it was an interesting one. Everything from the Wild West to European towns to 1950s, all in one day trip.